our founders, Tapachi and Tamachi. I'll hand it over to Brzezinski to introduce himself and then hand it over to the founders.
Hi, community. Welcome to our live spaces, episode 2. I'm Brzezinski, one of the senior committee members on the HSuite, as well as the Treasury Committee. And it's very nice to be here today. How are you, Tom and Tabachi? How's it going?
Hey, all good. Tabachi speaking, one of the co-founders of HSuite. 4 years up and running and still driving this wheel. All good.
And looking smooth as ever.
Yeah. Hello, guys. Welcome. And thank you, everyone, for being here today.
Awesome. Guys, this is going to be more of a more casual talk backwards and forwards with one of the key topics along the way being V3. But for everyone out there that is none the wiser, they'd be right for assuming if there's a V3 that there's got to have been a V1 and a V2. But when we say we want to talk about V3, can you just give a really a brief explanation as to what we mean by V3? Because that doesn't mean much to anyone. So what does it mean when we say we're going to talk about V3, guys?
Yeah, well,
sure.
Just to keep it very simple, I think that we can say that V1 was the showcase. So basically the zero slippage deck, all the use cases we had with DAO, multi-sig, launchpads, all those kind of stuff was running in V1. And it was exactly the proof of concept. I mean, we made it happen. It was not modular. It was a kind of monolithic old stuff, but it was fully working. It was not meant for other developers to code on top of it. It was mostly closed and monolithic, but it was working. So it was the proof of concept. Then we went into developing the V2 that was modular with the SDK. Anyone could develop a smart app, but it was only working on Hedera as a blockchain. And by the time we were developing V2, we understood that what we were having in our hands was something more than we thought it could be. And so it became the V3, because the V3 is an evolution of the smart node in the sense that it's chain agnostic. And it also brings, apart from the validation rules and the decentralized signing system that obeys to the rules and to the DAO, depending on the way you configure it. But we also introduced the decentralized gateways and decentralized hosting, meaning that you can finally deploy both your backend and your front end into the network. So it's totally decentralized by default. And you can even point to your own custom DNS if you want to. So it's a full stack solution that goes from Web3 into hosting, into backend as a service, into authentication methods, and many other few things. So this is V3, basically. It's the final step of 3 years of non-stop working, going from proof of concept into something that is completely modular, easy to develop on top of it with a very powerful yet simple SDK. And this is where we are standing now.
So V3 is basically pretty much done. It's more of a case of speaking to auditing firms and getting quotations, that sort of thing. It's a really, really big thing. Of course, we've had our wallet audited, which was a pretty big job. Took over a month, but V3 is like a completely different beast altogether. It's huge. It's going to take a lot of time, cost a lot of money. So yeah, that's a big thing. But it sounds, everything you spoke about there sounds very much developer orientated, and of course it'll have a great impact multi-chain. But for the everyday listener, most of the listeners probably aren't developers. for the everyday trader, investor, that sort of thing. What does V3 mean to them? Does it have any links or benefits to our wallet that will soon be out as well?
You know, when we speak about V3, like we had to a point, we arrived before to a point where, you know, the whole narrative while we were building also the V2, which wasn't as advanced as V3, still like thought multi-chain, but kind of different. We were still targeting basically with the smart contract-less narrative, like going from smart contract developers to basically all developers in the world, right? But still the focus was on attracting developers that will be attracted use case and whatnot, right? Now, with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence, in the last couple of years or so, especially in the last year, since it's becoming smarter and smarter and somewhat more reliable, even if not so much reliable, we are basically creating a framework that will allow even a person who doesn't really know much about coding to start chatting with an AI and building application that can then be listed into our V3 marketplace. And one of the, I strongly believe this is a personal belief, like the smart agents framework that we're working on for the V3 that will be eventually released. It's something that nobody has. And it's one of those things that right now AI agents, especially when they trade, when they do like things related with money, when they have money on their pockets, crypto especially, usually works with crypto much better. It's like we're giving a framework so that even if AI hallucinates, even if AI like, you know, does something like, you know, those tweets where you see like somebody says, oh, my grandma is dying, send me like 200 Solana or something, and then an open claw agent that's supposed to trade, sure, here is the 200 Solana, hallucinates or whatever, and you basically lose all the money. With what we're doing, what we're giving to the community, to the developers, to everybody, it's game changing. It could trigger even a bull run, a full bull run. Because if you think about it, you start giving a bunch of AI agents cash, well, can call it crypto tokens, credits, whatever, and you allow them to freely trade without you needing to worry about it, because there is a fixed set of rules written on the Hedera consensus service that will allow to check and make sure that AI doesn't do weird stuff, even if it hallucinates or there is some point of failure, let's call it, that kind of gets hacked. Like we arrive to worst case scenario, which is nothing happens. Nobody loses money, there is no leak, there is nothing happening. And I think this is like one of the biggest things that everybody should be paying attention on and should be bullish about. Because yeah, of course, like for the developers building their own smart apps, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when you merge artificial intelligence with Web3, blockchain, crypto transfers, markets, use cases, like the potential there is absolutely endless. And nonetheless, it's a framework that will be working multi-chain. So it's not like, okay, we created a layer 1 with everything integrated in there, so but you got to use our layer 1. No. You can use Bitcoin, Hedera, XRPL, Solana, Polkadot, eventually EVM chains. It's fucking limitless, guys. I'm sorry for the word, but it's just exciting.
No, that was a great explanation, Tapachi. So for the community, I would just ask, HSuite has been through V1, V1.5, V2, and now it's going to be V3, right? But for the general community or for new members that may be new to HSuite, I would just like to ask, from the perspective of the project itself, we know that technology advances in a lot of ways, and there's phases to technologies, and not every technology gets adapted, right? You have to have a general core that interests people, and it has to be very simplified for consumers to actually use. So my question would be to either one of you, Tom or Topachi, if you had to explain what problem does HSuite actually solve, and why should someone who's never written a line of code care about it?
Do I go? You want me to go, Tom?
Yeah, I can take that. Well, actually, the thing is that, nowadays we are going towards a moment in our history where basically the segments are kind of collapsing in a way, meaning you can be a non-IT person, yet you can have a crazy idea, and you can be smart enough to spend, I don't know, $300 to Claude or whatever else and make it happen, That's the first thing. We are living in an era of creativity getting unlocked by the usage of AI, especially if you do it properly. So the beauty of what we've been building with V3 is that we've been especially focusing on not only on creating smart agents, so AI agents that you can hook on every ledger that we support, but on top of that, all our documentation has been resized and rewritten exactly and specifically to be digested by AI in such a way that whenever we will be releasing the public SDK for developers, you can just pick whatever AI you want, install it, check out the GitHub, install it, and out of the box, it would immediately help you in creating one solution that is technically valid. It's technically as secure as it could be because you're not writing smart contract, you're just using another technology stack. And you don't even have to worry about paying for EPFS pinning to a third-party provider, or to go look for the hosting service for your backend or the hosting service for your front end, how much this is centralized, and if you don't like it centralized, how do you have to decentralize it, and so on. So basically, our solution will allow anyone to jump on a website and say, hey, I have this idea, I want to do it connected with a fungible or non-fungible token. This is the preset, those are the rules I want in place, make it happen, and game done, So
Okay.
our latest 6 months has been especially focusing on those three things, which is improving what smart agents can do when you deploy them into the smart engines. So smart agent, AI agent built in the SDK itself. The AI documentation, which is a special docs format that can be deeply digested by AI with maximum results of clarity because the tech is pretty complex. And then our own AI, which is the thing that we've been leaking in chapter 1 the last week. And it's the last one that's going to be released, but still it's there. So it's not only that you can use any AI, but you will have also a chance to use our own to build agent and apps on top of the network. And the other thing that we like very much is that it's very easy to combine. So let's say Topachi will deploy a smart app for trading. You will deploy a smart app to work with DAO, creating proposals and weighted votes and so on. And Surgeon would create a smart app that is a launchpad, right? And you do the thing, you do your audits, you go live, then I can jump in and I can create one smart app which is subscribing to yours, to Surgeon's, to Topachi's one, I can puzzle up and I can use your service like a B2B would do, business to business, and resell it from within my app as a combo of the three things plus whatever I want to add, you see?
Okay, so from my understanding, when you're talking about basically smart agents versus smart apps, it's basically a product versus a worker, correct?
Yeah, in a way, the smart app is a full application. So it's a fully working backend. You can query, trigger. He has cron jobs, schedulers, and many other things. Whereas the smart agent is a special Web3 wallet with super defined rules, which can be triggered either by the smart app on demand or internally by the AI itself, because you can encrypt your Anthropic key or ChatGPT or whatever you want to use. You can encrypt your key into your agent, which is going to be decrypted only when legit inference and prompt are passed. And it will be able to, let's say, wake up every 5 minutes, analyze the charts of HSuite, HBAR, and execute trades. So you can wake up an agent without triggering from the outside, more or less like agentic framework would do, but with a set of rules on top of it. So if the agent wakes up every 5 minutes and it decides to trade, and it decides to invest all the money that you got into one single trade, then the smart agent rules that are immutable and written on Hedera consensus service would prevent your agent from doing it. So it's like combining the power of two things. On one hand, you have the AI intelligence that can do whatever they want, and they often hallucinate badly, but they are very smart. And on the other hand, you have a layer of security that says, okay, AI agent wants to trade 1000K now, but the daily limit is 100. So no, you can't, and that the entire network is going to block this transaction without signing it, without signing the multi-sig. So this is a very powerful combination because you can have a very dynamic and smart agent operating with different layer of intelligence. Might be Opus, might be a small one, but you still have this layer of security that the agent cannot move the funds to an unauthorized wallet. You can only trade the pairs you want on the DEX you want for the margin you want, the profits percentage you want, and so on.
Hey, thanks for that explanation, Tom. Makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to actually jump in. Instead of having a community AMA section, I'm just going to jump in with a community question every now and again, just to help get through them. I've got one here from last week that we didn't get to. With regards to cross-chain expansion, everyone knows that XRPL is basically the next and first on the list. What is the plan? What is the plan for when we're live on the XRPL? What does that look like exactly to the everyday user and to a developer? And what's the plan to bring that to fruition? To foster that growth once we're there.
Yeah, well, I mean, for those who have followed us in the journey of the last few months, let's say, we have since like the times of the V2, which wasn't not made as modular and everything that is now the V3. First of all, we chose XRPL as a first best choice after Hedera because of the way that it worked, and also because of the native DEX that with native AMM integrated into the XRPL ledger itself, alongside an order book style of trading on chain, which was absolutely super appealing. and they also supported multisig by default, because I mean multisig by default also is one of the things that must be present for smart nodes to basically go to on a chain. But besides this, we have also, since last year, we gotten how the story started a bit. I mean, we always imagine the smart nodes being like eventually multi-chain, right? Even if at the beginning like was monolithic and such. But then at some point we also met. You guys know Shuaib. I'm not sure if some of you does, but one dear partner of ours was part of the Duna now, and he came from XRPL first, right? And when he saw the technology coming in that we had on about the smart nodes on Hedera, he got really super excited, and he actually also like kind of talking to him. He told us, the XRPL community doesn't really have much going on. There is no smart contracts. There is smart contracts sidechain. So just to tell a little bit the story. And we noticed also, we studied a little bit about the XRPL, and it was for like developers and for us especially, like the way that you could build on it. We saw that it was very good, and also the performance and everything very, very similar to Hedera for most things. But for users, or I'm assuming like users, I'm not sure if by user you mean older or whatnot, but it will mean that for, let's say, for the ecosystem holders, it's only an enrichment at the end of the day. Because if you imagine like coming from just Hedera to basically join a community of several different thousands of people on an ecosystem where the market cap is like 10 times bigger, it can only be good for the whole ecosystem. And because of all the shared resources and the one brand and the fact that HSuite is multi-chain and all those type of things. So it's not like, I personally see, besides like some weird few people that may support tribalism and say, oh no, you should just stay on Hedera, or you should just stay like XRPL, like as maximalist, I only see like positive upside from it. And yeah, it's basically how I see it.
I mean, to keep it very, very simple, is like we are basically opening the pool of developers and projects and idea towards infinite. We are moving from a data which is a finite circle, expanding into XRPL, then expanding again, most probably Stellar, then Polkadot, and so on and so on and so on. So the beauty is that every project, every developer, every smart app or smart agents that's going to use our services and our network is basically going to consume and burn HSuite. So they are all going to be part of the deflationary tokenomics. So as a developer, you can be very excited because you write the code once and it works on every chain that the Smart Engine SDK supports nowadays. And as a holder, then, well, same wise, because the more developer and the more smart apps, the more HSuite will, the more the HSuite demand will grow, and the more the burning rate will increase as well. So the deflationary appreciation would be very interesting to watch as long as we deploy use cases, new customers, new developers, and new projects. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Great. Tom, I've got a couple of connected questions here for you from the live chat, both on the same topic around V3. When are you going to choose an auditor for V3? And the follow-up question to that is, what is your favorite innovation within V3?
Oh, well, Well, the audit is maybe the easiest one to answer for now, because we have a very wonderful relationship with Halborn. They've been auditing V1, 1.5, Silk Suite. We have 3 audits with them, and they are very, very good in doing what they're doing. And we ended up with Certic for the wallet, because we needed something different for the wallet. And I must say that also Certic has been a kind of a surprise, in a very positive way. So most probably it's going to be one of those. We still have to open the talks, details, and as we said last week, the analysis itself, the quotation itself is very complex because the project is huge. But I bet one of those 2 might be the final candidate for sure. And well, V3, I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with V3. There is like there is the smart app, which by itself it's astonishing the way you can do things and how simple that could be. There's the smart agent, as Topachi was saying. There is the fact that it's totally, completely decentralized, trustless, and permissionless, which is very interesting as well. There's a built-in DAO into the SDK handled by the validators. So out of the box, you could have a audited, decentralized DAO engine that you can use for your own purposes. And I do believe this is going to be used a lot, because there's a lot of interesting things they can do. And the V3 itself is going to allow you to create a token which is entirely multi-sig and decentralized, meaning the token keys are controlled by the validators, the network, and the network will obey to the DAO of your own project. So HSuite will be upgraded from single sig to multi-sig, and it will be finally become what it was always meant to be, the token of the people. They can, through the DAO, they can even control the burning, the minting rates, changing the rules if they want to, always achieve my majority whale resistance algorithm built in and all this kind of stuff, which is crazy cool to me. And at the same time, we are working on a built-in bridge solution to facilitate moving assets from one chain to another. So it's very hard to decide, man. It's like, but if I have to go for one, I would definitely say the fact that it's so decentralized, trustless, and permissionless that even if you mint one token with all the keys in place, you can guarantee that no human is in control of it, and it entirely obey by default, by technology, to the willing or of the DAO, or the rules, the immutable rules, or both, in case you want that. And this is, to me, like the strongest, craziest features that we can have.
Okay. Well, I guess everyone would like to know, Tom, do we have any plans to know dates in terms of when you want to release V3, and particularly in testnet? And if so, what exactly changes for users on HSuite or the holders for HSuite?
Well, there will be no real changes, meaning the legacy token manager and multi-sig, as you have it now, you can find it on legacy.hsuite.app. This will be maintained as long as we can. So really no changes required, but clearly if you want to start feeling what V3 would be like in terms of smart app, built into the wallet, become a node runner, become a smart app developer, getting your coding lessons and certification and so on, all this journey is going to happen through the wallet. So the wallet, our wallet, the HSuite wallet, is basically going to be the main access portal to all the V3 experience. But at the same time, if you want to connect to a smart app, you can clearly do it from wallet connect protocol using Hashpack or Kabila or whatever wallet you are already using. So we're fully compatible with the rest of the world, but we're just making a special effort to create a new protocol between native connect protocol that connects the front end to the smart apps, and then the smart apps to the network, and the network to the 7 ledgers that we are willing to have ready during 2026.
Okay, that's really great stuff. There's one thing I'm actually a little confused about, and maybe someone in the community might also be asking this or thinking about this. But in layman's terms, if someone is coming in from a regular blockchain, maybe say Ethereum, or they've been in the crypto space for a decade now, but they don't really understand the technology side or what smart nodes are really capable of. My question to Topachi or Tom, either one or both of you should answer actually. I would ask what is exactly the difference between what HSuite is doing compared to what regular crypto wallets or apps do today? And then where does that experience feel different for the users that we're trying to reach out to? How would it be changed for them? Or what is the solution that you're providing to them?
Well, this can be like a very simple question and super complex one at the same time. Let's say
Let's keep it
that
simple for today.
the easy version, if you look at the wallet, the easy version is that, for example, if you use Wallet Connect as a protocol to connect to any DApp, let's keep it general, chain agnostic in a way. If you want to use MetaMask through Wallet Connect to connect to Uniswap, then clearly you have to go through those steps and you have to accept all the implications and limitations that Wallet Connect brings by default. For example, if you use Hashpack or Kabila, that now they run on Wallet Connect SDK, you would experience that you cannot execute batch transaction on Hedera, because batch transactions are mainly meant to be executed on backends, and there's no SDK compatibility with Wallet Connect, because it's a features that's not really EVM first. It's more native, so it's not like in such an urgency for Wallet Connect to use it and so on. But from our wallet, you might be able to execute a Hedera batch transaction to compile the set of transactions, child transaction that you wish, and it just works. And it works because it can easily combine what we've been learning and developing as smart engine technology, plus what we've been orchestrating to be used as front end connect protocol, which is a bit different from what Wallet Connect does. So the first feeling for users is mostly this one. For example, you use our wallet and you have the smart app as a widget. So you don't have to log in every time. Even if the login expires, it's going to automatically re-log in into the smart app. You don't have to leave your wallet or to go into a third-party app to authenticate. There's few small things that have been making the life of final Web3 users very tricky during those years, and we've been using all those tools since the very beginning. So we saw the pain, we saw the solutions, and we thought that there was space. There was still some gap to fill. That's what the wallet aimed to be, basically. And in terms of smart engines, well, it's a completely different story for developers, because if you just compare it with contract, is like a smart contract is a piece of code that lives on the network. Okay, it's bytecodes. Only the owner can interact with certain functions or not, depending if the contract is upgradable or if it's immutable, meaning if it has keys or it doesn't have key. But that's it. You cannot say, okay, let's deploy a smart contract which is controlled by 12 different people from a multi-sig that's automatically doing certain rules and fetching data from the mirror nodes, because the contract cannot fetching data from the outside. It can only digest things, so you have to use oracles, and then the tech stacks get really complex, Instead, if you do it our way, you do Web3 in the way you've been doing Web2 without even being worried about what the underlying chain is actually doing, or if you should choose Solana or Hashgraph or EVM, so Solidity and different stacks to reach the same results. So it's simplicity, it's portability, and it's interoperability. Those are the three keys that I would say that smart engines would bring. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, for that answer. For Topachi, there was a community question last week that we were not able to get to, and I would like to ask you this question. It has to involve with our partnership with HSuite. And there was a question by the community last week regarding what does it mean for HSuite when HSuite is going to be multi-chain? Does that involve HSuite as well being involved in that? And if so, how? And is there any integration that Silk will be having perhaps with our wallet in the future?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. So it's good, like the way that we built the wallet could potentially allow like any smart node DEX, let's say in the instance of Hedera, to eventually perform more complex operations. Because what happens is with our wallet, you will be able to utilize batch transactions. Hedera recently, it's been like, I think like 3 months or something like that. They introduced methods where without smart contracts, and it's something that we suggested like years ago to do, or that we imagined years ago. But anyways, what you could basically do in general with our wallet is more complex transactions, where you can either do several different batches transaction, whereas right now you have a maximum of 10 slots for a token transfer, HBAR transfer, NFT transfer, whatever, which means that in the case of a DEX or Silk DEX, you have a maximum of a certain amount of possible routings between pools, right, in a single transaction. And with our wallet, eventually, a DEX such as Silk, in the future with integrations and stuff, the right modifications, you will be able to have much more complex routings, much more freedom for it. And also we would allow to eventually have like, well, the user will be able to, by using our wallet, for example, on Hedera always, they could do like, let's say, build a transaction, batch transaction that allows you like to do let's say a mint, then NFT, this NFT that's been minted, it gets sent to a specific account, and then in the same transaction gets frozen, right? And this means that you don't need contracts anymore to do this type of stuff on Hedera, because it means that if one of those three transaction inside the parent transaction, the batch transaction fails, the whole transaction reverts. Kind of like smart contracts work, and they have made work on Hedera. But with this methodology, not only you don't need smart contracts or EVM compatibility, you're also in the instance of Hedera saving money. So yeah, we have more complex functionalities that can be integrated also with different apps or decentralized exchanges such as Silk that could basically enhance the user experience, usability, and having more features basically.
Guys, I'm gonna jump in with my own question here, just to take it down more conversation avenue rather than just relying on community questions. There's questions for both of you. It's more of a philosophical question rather than a technical question. But if you feel there's a technical advantage or disadvantage, sure, you can mention that. But I'm asking from a philosophical perspective because I have my own opinions on it. I want to hear from you both. We'll go Tom first, but obviously we were born on Hedera and we've been here for many years. And, you know, it's got to be said, the truth is it's not a permissionless network, not yet anyway. But for me, the big thing is that I think a lot of people assumed and thought and were told it was going to be a permissionless network a long time ago already. The validation is only by the GC, basically. That's the governing council for anyone that didn't know what that means. You know, the next network we go to is, everyone knows it's going to be the XRPL, and that is a truly permissionless network. Anyone can be a node validator. Is there a difference? What's your opinions on that? The fact that Hedera, firstly, what's your opinion, the fact that Hedera is still not a permissionless network? And is there a difference to V3 or HSuite technology in any way between running on a permissionless or non-permissionless network? I'm just curious. That's a secondary question.
Yeah. Well, let's say that for us is not really a big issue. I mean, we are not layer 2, we are not layer 1. We are an invisible layer on top of layer 1, basically, kind of 1.5 layer, so to speak, which means that the way that our V1 was meant to be was super complex to make it permissionless and trustless. V2 was already worked to be that way, hence why we were about to run the campaign with node runners and such. But again, it was not multi-chain and it was not optimized to be running on different cloud and bare metal situations and configs. But V3 can. So the V3, it's our answer to how can a network be decentralized, trustless, and permissionless from day one. This is why we retain from releasing and completing the V2 on the first place. Clearly, we can work as long as the ledger is working. So any ledger uptime and any ledger functionality does not depend on us. So we just use the SDK they have and add this multi-sig orchestration level of security and rules on top of it. And yeah, clearly, how do I see the Hedera thing? Well, on one hand, is kind of point of strength to showing that we got so many governing councils with big names on the plate. Like as a first buyer, that makes you feel like Hedera is crazy strong if it's got those kind of partners, right? But on the other hand, as a holder, as a community member, as a dreamer, I would say, guys, we're still waiting for those permissionless consensus nodes to be run by, at least by the biggest communities, you know? Imagine if Southern Swap, Dovu, SilkSuite, and whoever else is there still alive could run a consensus node sitting at the same table, you know, taking the same decision. Because, you know, guys, at the end of the day, it's like if the solution is another company, then you're not going really decentralized. You are decentralizing the architecture and the technological stack, but you are still central in terms of authority. The governing council of Hedera is very powerful, yet at the same time, if they decide tomorrow to change this information for that other information, technically speaking, they can do it. And I've been also discussing this on X many times, reporting Hedera minutes and GitHub things where they've been saying that due to this and this issue, we are realigning the mirror nodes with what the consensus decided it to be, which is on one hand is a normal procedure. Like on a totally decentralized and permissionless blockchain, when those kind of things happen, either the information converge into how to say a common state of agreement, or it works. It's very common on a blockchain EVM chains that you can face a fork because the information gets two ways, so to speak. So the reconciliation of the information is very important. It's needed. Things can go wrong, but when there's no decentralization in terms of executing those type of action, there's no community involvement. There's just big companies doing the things with all the best intentions they could have, with all the best ethics and morals and whatever you want to put on the plate. I don't doubt that, but it's still a centralized form of control, which we can decide to trust blindly in good faith, but is not the cryptographic transparency that we all would opt for. So I truly hope that Hedera would soon understand this and finally go back on their path and do an effort, because it is an effort. We know that it's a huge effort when you want to develop like totally decentralized, trustless, and permissionless technology, because then you don't have control of those machines anymore, and that says a lot. You have to be ready for it. But I guess after so many years, HSuite, it's technically ready to do it, but maybe there's no interest. As they've been announcing lately, they are focusing mainly on enterprises. So this is something that retail wants. If you imagine if you would be a bank, you would feel reassured by the fact that Google, IBM, and Dell and McLaren can just click a button and fix your thing. If you're a bank and you want to use that blockchain, most probably that's your safe, comfortable zone. On the other hand, if you're a bank and you have to deal with a group of anonymous people running the consensus nodes, and if something goes wrong, you have to orchestrate DAO votes, reconciliation, and all those type of action, then it's a retail thing. It's not an enterprise thing. That's why I believe Ripple and XRPL did it clear and right. There is a separation of concerns. And XRPL, it's trustless. You can run nodes. It has its own conditions.
Well,
like
it's not. There is a well. It's not exactly totally permissionless.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said he's got his rules. But at least if you want to be part of it, you can be part of it in a way. Then there's Waves, which is like totally decentralized and permissionless. There's Ethereum and so many others. So to me, it is important. Yeah, it's one of the first things that a developer should look at. When if you have to choose one chain, we don't want you to choose one chain. That's why we created the Smart Engine SDK, which is chain agnostic. But yeah, when it comes down to choosing one chain, it's important that you choose the one that can guarantee like real decentralization, real censorship resistance, and all those kind of things, because this is all what Web3 should be about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the beautiful thing is also that with the work that we've done in the V3, where we integrated not only the smart nodes, which are basically now smart validators, that validates the rules on chain, but we also have the smart host, the smart gateway, which would allow eventually people to not only build or deploy a smart application on several different chains, but also in a completely decentralized manner, and so it's not like it wouldn't need to be hosted on, let's say, on AWS or whatever other service provider. It can be much more decentralized, and if you want to keep aside, whatever our credo is, our morals, our ethos, and whatnot, if you want to look at it on a tokenomics and business perspective, for the way that we have created the technology that it can be utilized multi-chain, it's a no-brainer that it's good to basically being able to being on different chains, because yes, there could be sometimes some hype on one chain, a chain does really well, so there can be more protocol revenue from one side if in case another chain is kind of dying and it's not doing so well. And basically we allow also any developer, any person, if there is a Ethereum maximalist or Hedera maximalist, like, sure, okay, you just deploy your app on Hedera if you don't want to deploy in others, and you can still use our technology and not really being against us for any reason, because yeah, we integrate all of those.
It's really interesting hearing your guys' takes on it, like just personal opinions, regardless of performance or anything like that. Tom, I got a technical question for you here for the community. If you could answer this in the most layman, simple terms possible for all the degens out there, but also like for the developers, but not in developer language, if you know what I mean. So just keep it degen level, but even for the developers, what's the single biggest reason that, or advantage can also be reason. What's the single biggest reason or advantage you feel exists for a builder to have at their disposal? Because we're going to be on the XRPL soon. So if a project builder had the option with the current options that are available on the XRPL, like sidechain, smart contracts, hooks, smart escrows, that sort of thing, what's the biggest advantage to them with the smart engines offering our programmability, advanced programmability? What kind of difference is that going to make to a builder on the XRPL?
Well, basically, we can already do from day one the most things that are needed for any DeFi protocol or Web3 application out of the box, without having to wait for the native layer to do it. As we said the last time, is like if Hedera will release how is that called, Clipper bridge, right? Like, is that a pain for our bridge? Well, no, man, it's wonderful, because I have to write less code and reduce the complexity if I can rely on on their bridge. Same for Hedera hooks. They want to develop those hooks. Well, we can already do much more, but if they do it, we're going to integrate. So with Ripple, it's basically the same thing. As for now, they have possibility to use contract, which is separate kind of thing from the native layer, which I like it a lot. It's going to have hooks, which are partially programmable piece of codes. But if you just use our technology, basically you can even create a launchpad in few lines, which is totally decentralized, also in terms of multi-sig, without having to waiting for the ledger to keep improving the things. The main thing is that ledgers should do one thing, be the ledgers. That's it. If they want to be like HashGraph, which is more topic, submission, messages, registry, then great. If it wants to be more like XRPL, where they have like native DAX and order book, it's more like cross-payment order. Cross-border payments, whatever that is. I'm start getting tired here. Then that's great enough. You see my point? It's not like we want to replace any ledger. We just want to add a complexity of programmability and execution layer, which is off-chain. So it doesn't put the load on the chain. It keeps the chain fluent, agile, and light, and at the same time is decentralized, trustless, permissionless, and auditable. So it's not like it's off-chain, so it's all hidden and dark. No, it's off-chain, but it's a network that operates under a consensus and fully auditable traces. So that's a completely different thing to what we are used to have and to deal with, and it might imply a kind of mental shift. If you are only Web3 developer, it might require you a kind of mental shift to get out of the habit of complexity, because a very good Web3 developer knows that solutions are crazy complex. So they are used to think in that way. They're used to think about solidity, about contract, about Oracle, about sandwich attack, about Oracle poisoning, about whatever else, So when you come and you start using the Smart Engine SDK, you realize that all those problems have been already faced and solved, like at the top of the complexity layers. And so you can just focus on the product. And that's like, from a developer perspective, it's a huge peace of mind, so to speak. Yeah, that's maybe the best thing that I can say to make it pass as a message, like peace of mind. You don't have to worry anymore about the stack. You can focus on the product, which is what those latest years have been all about, right? Like those AI services where you can just type and create a website, or type and create an e-commerce or whatever. Then yeah, we want people to type and get a Web3 application, which is like using the highest standard of security and technology without even them having to worry about. That's our final goal. Allowing anyone to develop on the Web3 safely and like minimum risk, maximum creativity. That's the final goal, guys.
That sounds great to me, Tom. All right, well, we only have a very short amount of time, around a minute to 2 left. So I would like to close it out with one question, and maybe the T's may have an Easter egg to throw out to the community before we end this. For the T's, both of you can address this. What is one milestone on our roadmap as a team that you guys are most excited about, and what does it mean for the community when it lands? It could be whether it's the V3 or Sartek's wallet audit, possibly, that's getting completed. What's your guys' take on this?
But for me personally, it will be when smart agents, well, the V3 is going to be out on mainnet after audit, and there will be smart agents, because we'll be probably the first one to start using them and play with them. I mean, we are already in our own way, but seeing other people and people who don't code just start doing things and apps and using artificial intelligence, especially because we're living in times where, like, now all the hype, most of the hype, it's been AI. So, and we created a framework that will put AI to good use, to the best use possible for many use cases.
How about you, Tom? Do you have anything that you're looking forward to?
Well, I think I'm looking forward to holidays. No, well, yeah, definitely. The HSuite event, guys. I mean, to be fully honest, we've been into the coding cave for so long, like producing non-stop coding and those kind of things, that the only thing I'm looking forward is, like, when are we gonna meet? Like, let's make an HSuite event. Maybe let's make it not too big, so we can really enjoy, like, being between us for the first time. We can arrange some coding context or whatever. I mean, that's what I'm really willing to see, like, more than anything else this year, because all the rest is already coming. The wallet is there, the V3 is there. We are doing the final touches. We are finally having time to jump on community calls. We are refactoring the docs and the tutorials. I mean, there's a lot to be released on those upcoming months, which is already there. So the only thing that's really missing to me, it's like the HSuite event, live one.
So I guess it would be fair to ask, instead of when moon, when yacht party.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you guys today for having a conversation with us, and for our community as well. Thank you for joining in and hearing us out. And for those that will be hearing the recording, we hope we gave you some valuable information today about V3. And Sergeant, would you have anything else you would like to add on?
Yeah, I just want to thank Tapachi and Tom for coming along, doing another great live stream with us. Thanks to you for being my co-host. Thanks to all the listeners, both on X and YouTube. And we look forward to joining you again next week, same time, Thursday, 4 p.m. UTC.
Thank you for your kind words. Thank you
Thanks
very
very
much. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Have a
Until
nice
next
day.
time.